Welcome to the Patrice Brantley Show, where helping others is the name of the game. And on this show, we push purpose, positivity, and personal growth. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Miss Terry Thompson. She is the business owner of Blue Jeans and Berries. Honey, she got some words for us today. I am looking forward to her coming on in and chatting with us. Now, before we get into this with Miss Terry Thompson, I need to give y'all a quick word, okay? Listen. Do you know that in the midst of all these layoffs that you have somewhere you can go to get some help to find your next? That's right. Hop on over to the 3S movement and set up an appointment for an idea session. Let's talk about how you can take your transferable skills and put them into your next big adventure. All right, y'all. I am so excited, so excited. Make sure that you are following me on all socials at 3S Movement and on YouTube. Make sure you're following me at the Patrice B channel on IG and on Facebook. Make sure you're following the Seed Sowing Sister Movement on Facebook as well as the Seed Sowing Movement on Facebook. And make sure you share all this goodness with a friend. All right, y'all. I need y'all to come on, get your hands together, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Hey, Terry, how are you?
I am doing amazing, Patrice. How are you today?
I am wonderful. I want to thank you for coming and gracing our stage today and sharing about your business, Blue Jeans and Berries. I love the name. So let's just start there first. Talk to me about this name, Blue Jeans and Berries.
Well, Blue Jeans and Berries came about because I want to make healthy living, healthy habits simple, easy, and comfortable for you. And to me, blue jeans represent comfort. That's just a very it's a comfort level for me. Years of working in corporate, I would come home. First thing I would do is strip the suit off and put on my blue jeans. That to me is comfortable. Healthy living needs to be comfortable and easy as well. It needs to be convenient. It needs to be second nature. And that's what Blue Jeans and Berries is about. It's helping people make healthy living fit into their lifestyle seamlessly, easy, comfortably, conveniently. Um, that's that's really what Blue Jeans and Berries is about.
So I love this because in our conversation that we had offline, you talked about how eating healthy can be convenient. But I'm going to pause there because that's what brought this conversation to the bigger stage. I want to know what's the backstory for you and making this actual change? Because I heard you say you left corporate, and everybody, at least where I grew up, everybody wanted to be in corporate. You wanted to be the person in the suit with the fancy car. And talk to me about that part of life. What did you do in corporate?
Well, I spent 25 years in the insurance industry on the claims side of things. So I handled property claims, vehicle damages, homeowners, boats, that type of thing. So it was a very fast paced world,
Mhm.
not always a positive world. When people come to you because they've suffered a loss of some sort or a claim, it's not a happy time in their life. And yes, I could succeed in guiding them through and getting them proper settlements, but not, you can't make everybody happy with that. Far from it. And corporate just got to me after 25 years. I just had enough of the corporate being tied to a cubicle, being tied to somebody else's schedule, not being able to take vacation time. I, I was given 6 weeks vacation every year, but could only take 1 week at a time. And and scheduling the time became very difficult. So I wanted more control of my life. I wanted to have a say in who was raising my children, in when I could show up for my family and not, corporate has your hands tied, and it looks all nice and pretty. You get the benefit package, you get that steady paycheck and all that good stuff, but you lose a lot of your freedom with it. And I wanted personal freedom.
I
And
love that because you talk about wanting that personal freedom. And I thank you for being so bold and honest and transparent, right? Because everybody tells everybody, go get this great, amazing job in this Fortune 500 company and this Fortune 400 and all of this. But they don't talk about the other part that connects with it. So I definitely want to really kind of go back, and I'm going to do a little bit of a whoop, whoop, rewind back to that topic because I want to talk about some healthy ways to help those who are still in that uh, corporate space
Yeah.
to help them in their mental wellness. Because I know there has to be a part of that. But I would love to know because you started this business and you talked about it being a relaxation. But I know when we start a business, there's always a backstory. There's a mission. What got you to start the story and what inspired you to start your business, Blue Jeans and Berries?
We got to go back 14 years first off. And 14 years ago was one of the lowest points in my life. I was
Oh,
the least healthiest I'd ever been. I was stressed, doing three different jobs, self employed, doing three different things, trying to pay the bills.
wow.
We had an economic crisis at that time when the housing market crashed, and it affected what I was doing, what I had chose to do after leaving corporate. And at that time, my mother was diagnosed with a terminal cancer, and that sparked what I have, what I'm all about today. Because when I started really looking into and researching cause and effect of, first off, why was she given this diagnosis? And she had made a comment that just hit home with me. We were sitting in the oncologist's office, and he looked at her, and my dad and I were sitting there, and he said, "You've got 6 months." And my mother said, she says, "My mother was 72 when she died, and I'm going to be 72 when I die." And this was a fact.
Oh,
It was just before her 72nd birthday. And I went home with that. And all I could think of was, why? My great grandmother, my grandmother's mother lived into her late 90s. My grandmother died of lymphoma at the age of 72. And here my mother is going to die at the age of 72 from glioblastoma multiforme, which I had never heard of. So what did I do? I went home and I got on Google. I started digging and researching and cause and effect. What causes these type of things? Everything kept leading back to our food choices, what we were consuming on a daily basis. And what I learned, frankly, was very scary, but it got me motivated to start making changes in my own life. And then the more I learned and the more I dug into this, I realized that there's a lot of misconception out there, a lot of misinformation, a lot of things that are promoted as healthy foods that are not healthy, that are actually harming us. And it just became my mission to help educate people and share what I was learning, because we can prevent so much by making some simple changes in our lifestyle and in our diets.
so I love how you talk about this. How, like you said, I went home and I immediately started to Google. I feel like there are certain professions where we hold them so high when we hear them give the final word. And I love how you took what this doctor said, and he was literally speaking death
Yes.
on your mother and telling her she has 6 months to live. And you said, "Not on my watch." I love that. You stopped and said, "Not on my watch." You said, "I know there's more for her." And you went home and you started to research and Google. And I'm going to have you repeat what you said the name of this was again. And can you kind of explain a little bit more in detail what that is, if you know?
Yeah. Well, you're referring to my mother's diagnosis?
Yes.
Okay, my mother was diagnosed with glioblastoma multiforme. It is a terminal brain cancer, and it's a very aggressive brain cancer. And were we able to make the changes necessary to save her life? No, it was actually too late for her. It had progressed too far. And at the time, I was just learning how nutrition affects us. Her doctors were not promoting any nutritional changes in her life at all. And that's something that really struck home with me. You go to a chemo center, a center where they're giving people chemotherapy, and
Mhm.
you'll find at the front desk a big bowl of candy. They're
Oh,
pumping these people full of chemotherapy, and then they're feeding them sugar. Sugar feeds their
the
cancer cells.
cancer. It sure does.
I'm looking at what's happening here, and what our medical society is promoting isn't necessarily going to be for our best health. They're putting a band aid on. They're not, typical Western medicine is about Let's put a band-aid on the symptoms. Let's reduce the symptoms, but not let's find out what's underneath, what's causing these symptoms, what's what's at the root cause, and how do we attack that, and how do we fix that. And it
I
has
love how
to.
you talked about finding the root, because I find that, and I've said this kind of for a lifetime, right? Because my grandmother passed away from Alzheimer's, which now we know is diabetes part 3, which
Yep.
basically not only goes with how you eat, but it also goes with movement and things of this nature. And they have a whole setup now. And what I find interesting is, like you said, there's so many things out here that we've been miseducated on, or don't even realize. We think it's a positive thing. Like, we're all excited about that bowl of candy on the table. And, oh, they thought enough for me to have some peppermints here, right? But it's doing the opposite effect of what you need.
Yes.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because in hindsight, it's a small piece of peppermint, right? But it's having such a devastating effect for the person who's already going in for cancer treatment. So you're
Yes.
keeping me literally, what is the word? Hooked up to the drug so that I stay sick.
Our system is designed to keep us sick. When you look at,
Wow.
if you go to a doctor with high blood pressure, what's the first thing that doctor does?
They
He's
want
going
to
to
give you a pill.
he's going to give you a pill to control your
Mhm.
blood pressure. He's going to tell you to avoid eating grapefruit because that's going to contradict the
With the
medication,
med.
because grapefruit actually will lower your blood pressure. So they're giving you a
Whoa.
pharmaceutical and not telling you change this, add more of this to your diet, remove
Okay.
some of this. They're not telling you to do that. They might tell you to, cut back on your salt, which really does not have an impact that they thought it did on blood pressure. So it's our medical professionals are not always. I don't want to cut. I don't want to discount our medical system, because
Okay.
goodness gracious, if I had an accident, give me the pain drugs, okay?
Right.
Don't do surgery on me without the medication. But I think we over medicate Americans. I think we're over medicating them with pharmaceuticals that may not be necessary. We can prevent so much of our disease by making these simple changes in our lifestyle. And
So I want to pause for a second, because you gave two major jewels and I ran past them. You talked about one, the first thing, if you're dealing with high blood pressure, instead of taking the med, maybe going to the grapefruit, which is a natural blood pressure reducer.
right,
That's one. The other thing you just said, which blew me right now, is high blood pressure has nothing to do with salt.
it's
I
true.
think I've heard that all of my life growing up, that it is salt, salt, salt. Cut back your salt. Don't have this, don't have that. And salt's not even an issue.
That's not the issue. No, it's not. It's you're
Wow.
you got to clear up your arteries. Number one, your blood pressure, it's an indication that your heart is overworking itself and your blood is not flowing properly through your veins. So what do you need to do is you need to look at your diet. You need to look at what's contributing to that. I'm going to guarantee you, if you're eating foods that come from the 3 B's, a box, a bag, or barcode, it's going to be adding to the inflammation in your body. It's going to be causing
Wow.
that. So we need to look at that, look at what foods can actually contribute to better cardiovascular health. We know grapefruit's going to help lower that. We know cinnamon is good for that. We know that berries, the dark berries, eating dark berries every day is going to improve your cardiovascular health. There's things you can add to your diet to
Okay.
help improve.
So I'm loving this. I am so loving this, because I'm hearing this started out as a moment of, how can I help someone else? As I love to say, how can I serve you? And you went in with a heartfelt mission to not just serve other people, but you wanted to start with your mom first.
Mhm.
She was one of many that you said, I'm going to serve. And I
Yeah.
love how her legacy lives on in what you do now. It's
Yeah.
so beautiful as I hear this. And wow, I'm just sitting here just blown away, because the stuff that we've been told, or as I love to say, the lie we've been sold for so long, is now showing us, oh my gosh, we've been totally miseducated about our healthcare. Literally, as one of my girlfriends would say, her name is Miss Aida from Forex for Life. She always says it is the government's job to have your sick care. It is your job to make sure you have your health care. And so, in this, I love that you're really bringing these things out because these are things we're misconformed in, and I love that you're having these moments. And as you're talking about it, I'm going, wow, what an experience to see your dream go and grow and have great wings. So now
It's
I want to be a little nosy on the business side because you've started this amazing business. It's going extremely well. You're literally serving us as the community great things to do with health and
yep.
ways to go along with this. How was the first steps in this journey? What was the part that you said you would like? This is the key piece, was the turn for me to say, take this passion, turn it into the business.
It came about from me giving a lot of free advice to people. First off, I just am so passionate about sharing that we have control of our health, that our DNA is not necessarily our destiny, and helping to educate people. And
Mm,
my coaching business really started from that because I was sharing information so passionately with people and
people.
so readily. And I've had several people say, why don't you make a business out of this? And to me, this business is my lemonade business. Life gave me lemons. And you know the saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And
Lemonade.
I had this whole bushel of lemons thrown at me, and I had to make something positive out of that. I had to make my mother's suffering and her death positive. How can we make something positive out of that? I could sit and wallow in self pity and grief, or I can take that and say, this does not have to happen to other people. This is not the future I want for my own children and my grandchildren. How can we change our history now? How can we change our future?
I want to pivot this a little bit. I love this because I'm thinking back to when you first started this business. People, you are giving advice away, and that's most of the times how most business owners do, right? They're giving this great advice away, and they're telling everybody, "You should do this. This is how you should do that." And then somebody comes to you and says, "You know, that's a business, right? Stop giving away all your good stuff." And I love how when you're talking about this, it makes me think of two things in business, right? Those moments that we have in business that are like our mountain moments, and then those moments that we have that are the valley moments. Talk to me about one of your greatest mountain moments in business.
My greatest mountain moments, sometimes it's dealing with the people that are closest to you and
Mhm.
getting them to understand the importance of taking control of their own health, and them not even wanting to hear what you have to say. I mean, to me, that's a huge mountain that I still haven't totally overcome.
Okay.
I still have people that are, close family members that don't they don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't want to know. They're not ready to make change in their life. And for me to sit on the sidelines and watch as their health is going downhill, as they're aging at a rate that they really shouldn't have to age. We can slow that process down, but they don't want to hear it. Um,
Mm.
I think that's one of the hardest things to deal with, because I want so badly for them to have a better life, to have more vitality, and to live long. I don't want to be the only one living with vibrancy and having to take care of all of my siblings. I want them to live with vibrancy as well, and to live a healthy life and not have, you know, they're not ready. They're just not ready to hear the message, or they're not ready to make the changes. They're comfortable where they're at. And breaking through that comfort level with people, not just my family, but with other people, can be difficult. It's helping them break through what's become comfortable for them.
As you're talking about breaking out of that comfort, I feel like it's something that we all have to learn, right? You all learn that if I break out of this comfort, something great is going to happen for me. Talk about the moment you had to break out of the comfort for yourself. What was that comfort that you had to say, no more? I'm breaking out. I'm coming out on the other side. What was that moment for you?
It, that moment for me came, it came in a couple of small little bits and pieces. It
Hmm.
came with feedback from people. One of the simplest aha moments I had came from a friend of mine who follows me on social media,
Okay.
and I had posted something about the effects of sodas, diet sodas in particular, and I'm very much against drinking diet
You're
sodas.
against
Not
me.
good for us. They
Okay.
cause damage. And it was a post that was worth repeating a year later. How you get these little reminders of this.
Hmm.
So I repeated the post. I shared it saying, this message is worth repeating. And having a friend come on there and simply say, since you shared this a year ago, I have not drank any soda.
Whoa.
To me, that was like the difference that just that one little habit can make in your health is huge. It's huge. So that to me was kind of the wind beneath my wings. It lifted me up, and it let me know that I am on the right path. I have a message that's worth sharing that people
Yes.
do want to hear. Not everybody wants to hear it all at once, and sometimes people aren't ready to hear the message, but there are people that want to hear it and need to hear it. So for me, that was my uplift. That was what got me motivated to really jump in, dive in, and see what I could create and see how many lives I can touch along the way. I mean, that's the end goal, is the kind of legacy we leave and how many lives have we touched. Who's going to miss me when I'm gone type thing.
I love that piece. I want to dig a little deeper because you talked about having those moments and still climbing the mountain where people want to hear you and some are not ready.
Yeah.
As a business owner, how do you handle those moments when people are not ready to really hear? You literally have a cure in your hand. You have a solution in your pocket, but they don't want to hear that. How do you maintain and still keep going with that?
It used to bother me a lot.
Mm.
And it doesn't bother me today like it used to, because I came to realize that it's all about timing with people, and whether they want to hear the message today or not, whether they're ready for it, that doesn't mean that they're not going to be ready down the line. But there are people that are ready. So I can't let that person that's not ready stop me from reaching the people that are ready. So
Oh,
I,
that's good.
I hope that, yeah, I was going to say, I hope that made sense, but
No, that is good. Hello, come on through with that tarot. You come on through here. I love that because I want to repeat that because that's deep. I can't let the person who's not ready keep me from reaching the person who is ready.
yes.
Oh, I like that. So I need some. Okay, so I need some cheat tips. Okay, I'm gonna just tell you up front. I,
Okay.
I, I got a certain restaurant I like. They tell people to eat more. Eat more of the other stuff. Uh, and they have a nice cow on the front of their thing. So I want to go out. I'm getting back into my cooking, but I want to go out on a really nice little cheat day.
Okay.
What would you suggest I have in my cheat day for a cheat meal?
On a cheat meal, you can have food that is actually really, really good and is not considered, not really a cheat.
Okay.
When I want to go out, if I'm, for instance, my oldest daughter and I, we like to do our girls' days where we hit all the flea markets and then we go out for
Ooh,
lunch together. And our favorite spot for lunch is a Mediterranean restaurant.
okay.
The
Okay.
food is fresh. It's always good. We're indulging in food that we're not fixing ourselves, but it's really not a cheat because it's good for you. So when you're going out, look for foods that are not deeply fried. I mean, you want to stay away from the fried foods. And
Okay.
if you're really got to have those French fries, I mean, if that's the only thing that's going to satisfy your cravings, then go for a healthier version. Go for the sweet potato fries. Try to make some swaps that are healthier. Skip the soda. Drink juice, water, tea, but skip the soda. Keep your sugar, keep the sugar content and the artificial sweeteners out. You can, if you do visit a fast food restaurant, there are healthy options versus the not so healthy options. Go for the grilled chicken instead of the fried chicken. Um, go for the sweet potatoes rather than the French fries. Now, are either of them really good for you? They're not real good fats usually that they're fried in, but at least you're going to get a little nutrition out of a sweet potato where the French fries really have no nutritional value for you at all. So look for a little healthy balance, and don't. I think above all, don't deprive yourself. You want. I like that you said cheat day because that means
Mhm.
it's not something that you're doing every day. And it is okay to have a cheat day. It is okay to have a piece of birthday cake. Just don't eat the whole cake, okay? You
Ooh, I
know,
love that.
just keep
Thank
it
you for setting me free right there.
right there. You have to you have to enjoy life. As a human, we are meant to be in community with each other. And think about when you gather in community, most of the time food is involved. So
Yes.
you have to be able to be in community with your friends, with your family, and enjoy a meal with them without feeling guilty, without it totally derailing you. I mean, it's okay to have that pizza and beer night once a
Right.
month, but the rest of the time you want to feed your body with food that is actually going to build your cells up and not tear them down. So it's not
So
the cheat, it's the everyday thing.
okay, so I love this because you talked about I'm allowed to have my cheat day. You said my favorite thing, and you just set me free. You just said have the cake. That's my part right there. Listen, you got a place in my heart when you said that. Okay, so I can have my slice of coconut cheesecake, but I don't need to have the whole slice, and I don't need to make that an everyday thing. I need
Exactly.
to work through it in little pieces, little by little. I want to switch the camera for a second because we've been doing all this healthy piece. And I want to talk about what do you do for fun? What are those pieces that you enjoy? Things that most people may not know about you that you enjoy doing.
Uh, it's funny when I what I call self-care is things that I enjoy doing. And aside from the typical, I like to get out in nature and walk, and I love my dogs and to play with my dogs and all that. I can get lost in my sewing room for hours at a time. I'll
Okay.
turn on some true crime drama or something on Netflix, and I just love quilting. I love piecing fabric together, taking all these different colors and shapes and what looks like a bunch of nothing come out and look like something totally different. It's something I enjoy doing. It brings me great relaxation. And at the end, I finish a project and it's something that lives on. It's something that I can pass on to somebody or gift to somebody.
Mhm.
And it's a little piece of me that I'm giving them, but it's also satisfying my need to be creative, to have that time and space to myself where I can totally unplug from everything. I don't have to look at my phone. I don't have to, don't have to look at my computer or anything else. I can just unplug, get lost in playing with fabric. I love to play with fabric, and I have a stash that I should be totally ashamed of, but I'm not.
And you shouldn't be. I believe everybody has the part where they need to be creative. And I love that your creativity is something that my mom does. She is one who loves to sew as well. And I love that that is a resurgence in this day and age now that people are learning that these are skills that people may have thought were, oh, that's a little passe. But you know what? Hey, it's giving people peace, but it's also giving them a chance to be more creative. If you had a theme song, this is one of my faves. If you had a theme song for your life, because I believe everyone should have one, but I'm going to switch up this question. If you had a theme song for your business, what would that theme song be?
Definitely unstoppable.
Unstoppable. I like
Unstoppable. To me, that's the perfect song. It you can't let, like I said, you can't let the naysayers or the people that aren't ready to hear your message stop you. You have to be
Mhm.
unstoppable or your message is never going to get out to the right people. So to me that song just it reminds me to keep going. If I need a little burst of energy, I can play that song and to me it's going to motivate me to keep going forward. Don't stop. Just I'm unstoppable. I have a message that people need to hear and you're not going to be able to stop me.
I love that piece. I gotta let everyone know before we wrap this part up. How can they connect with you? How can they find you? Where are you dropping more of these gems? Because I mean, you just set me free today. I can go have some cake. You have made my day. So how can they find you? How can they connect with you? And what do you have new coming out for us?
Awesome. Well, you can connect with me through my website, bluejeansandberries.com. You can I offer a free 30-minute discovery call to help you pinpoint, areas that you can start focusing on for improvement that'll actually give you instant results. Um, you can connect on me on all the social media sites. I am on Instagram, Facebook, um, LinkedIn,
YouTube?
all of those. Look, you can look for Blue Jeans and Berries, or you can look for me by Terry Thompson at Blue Jeans and Berries, and you can find me there. Um, my next event coming up, I do have a virtual event coming up. I've partnered with a couple other coaches. I'm real excited about it. We just launched it this year. We've got an event. On March 22nd. It's a virtual event. It's free to attend. There'll be myself and two other coaches specializing in different areas. We're going to be answering questions live for people. So if you have questions about health, if you have questions about your financial health, career, or relationships, we're going to be there to answer questions and guide you. And then, of course, offer you next steps as well, depending on what your needs are. So I'm excited about that.
So this is awesome, y'all. So please make sure that y'all, I'm going to drop this in the link in the bottom in the part in the pinned comments. I'm going to drop this in because I feel like she's going to give us some amazing things. And you want to be able to get as many resources to help you move into your next, which is your best. Oh, I am over the moon. I am so excited. I want to thank you once again, Miss Terry Thompson of Blue Jeans and Berries. I want to thank you so much for coming in with us today. You made this amazing. And you know what? I'm going to take a moment. We're going to come back and I'm going to chat with her by myself. I can't give y'all all the good stuff. So I'm going to let y'all just hang out for a second. Listen, guys, that was another amazing episode of the Patrice Brantley Show. I'm telling you, Miss Terry Thompson came in and she was just dropping gems. If you did not get an opportunity to catch the whole show, if you need to say, hey, let me get a piece of paper and a pencil, or let me get my phone or my notes app or my tablet and write these things down, honey, do so. She has an amazing experience to talk about. And what I love about it is when you leave her, she's going to leave you with some amazing, great things. Listen, join me because next week we're jumping right into what do you do when you have lost your job? We're going to be talking to a layoff expert who talks about career changes of all stages. And she's going to be bringing us some amazing gems. And y'all know, as I love to say, hey, listen, thank you for tuning in to the Patrice Brantley Show, where on this show we push purpose, positivity, and personal growth. We can't wait to see you once again. And make sure you do what? Share this episode with a friend.